My girlfriend said she wasn't interested in going to an event with me, but I found out she secretly went anyway, and now I'm tiptoeing around how to bring it up because she's so sensitive that she might see it as an attack on her. I'm not going to start out with the whole "our relationship is perfect but" thing that you always see on here. I'll admit this has been one of the hardest relationships I've ever been in. I still very much love her. She's beautiful, strong, driven, successful, and independent. However, my 30 male girlfriend, 28 female, is a dismissive avoidant to the extreme, and it's been causing a lot of issues in our relationship. She's in therapy, but that is mostly focusing on managing her OCD and related eating disorder. Fun fact, all three issues are often comorbid. She has issues expressing her emotions and needs and struggles with communication, commitment, and compromise as a result. We've been dating a little over a year. Prior to me, her longest relationship was less than 2 months. She usually shuts down and runs from relationships if she feels smothered, if her partner lets her down, or if she feels like she's being criticized. It doesn't take much for this to happen. She does recognize this, and she's trying to work on it. But it's hard on us both. Both of us are big theater nerds. A few months ago, we had a trip to a city about 2 hours from us to visit her grandparents, and I got to meet her best friends from college for the first time. While there, we went to a show with her friends. I honestly had a great time. Her grandparents love me and I got along really well with her friends. There was another show coming up in a few months that both of us have connections to. It was the first musical she ever saw with her grandparents, and I worked on a production in high school. I asked my girlfriend if we could go. I even offered to bring her grandparents and treat them to a nice night out. They don't get to go out much anymore, or we could go with her college friends. I immediately got shut down. She said that she didn't really like that show, which she has mentioned before, and she didn't want to see it again. Fine, no big deal. That show was last weekend. We kind of had a fight on Saturday. I was about 15 minutes late to picking her up to hang out at a brewery and she felt really let down. She's broken up with other people for similar reasons, and gave me the silent treatment all day. Eventually I get her to open up, we apologize to each other, and have a decent evening at home. The next morning, she says that she doesn't feel great and wants to go home to rest. I drive her home and asked if she needed me to stay with her to take care of her or anything. Nope, she just wants a quiet day to herself. I tell her to let me know if she needs anything and headed home. I don't hear from her all day. Even when she's relaxing, we're usually trading memes and Snapchats of our cats, but she's not even opening my messages. Earlier that week she had a migraine so bad that I needed to take her to the emergency room, and her sister just had a baby that's been having some health problems. I started to get really worried that something was wrong by late afternoon, so I decided to check her location on Find My. She's not at home. She's not even in our city. She's just leaving a restaurant and walking to the theater to go see the show that I really wanted to see. I assume she was with her friends again. The restaurant is a favorite of theirs. It's a nicer restaurant where they would have needed a reservation, and the show is a popular show. Everything would have needed to have been planned well in advance. I'm not worried about her cheating or anything. Her friends are married to each other and she wouldn't be going with anyone else except maybe her grandparents. I'm just so hurt over everything. I really wouldn't have minded if she said she already had plans to go to the show with her friends. I just don't understand why she lied to me about not being willing to go, and why she lied to me to hide that she was going. I think she just didn't want to explain that she wanted to go with her friends and without me. I don't know how to bring this up to her. She's very sensitive to criticism. Even though I'm hurt, not mad at her, she'll probably take it as an attack. She also just doesn't really like me expressing my feelings to her in general and tends to shut down and withdraw. I'm worried that if I bring this up, she'll just break up and leave to avoid the conversation. She's threatened to do that before on much smaller issues. How can I bring this up without scaring her off? Update 1 month later. I wanted to thank everyone for their input on my last post. I know it's a bit cliché, but I wasn't expecting it to take off so much. Even the harsher comments helped me get a better grasp on the situation. I spent a lot of time thinking about what to do. I made my post on Monday. We had a date planned for Wednesday. I decided I would bring it up then. On Tuesday she was having a bad day at work, but she didn't really let me know. She texted me about an email that her jerk-off boss sent her, and I thought my response was appropriately supportive and validating, basically telling the guy off and letting her know she's right to be frustrated. I get a Kurt, is that all you took from that? Back from her. I probably should have thought a bit more, but I was dealing with my own work issues and a migraine, so I lazily just doubled down on my first response, again reiterating that she has every right to be angry. She didn't respond. I didn't double text, but I did reach out via Snapchat and Instagram messages to see if she'd respond there. She didn't open any of my messages. Because I'm always trying to make excuses for her, I assume she's busy and will respond when she has time. If you couldn't tell from the first post, my girlfriend really struggles with communication. Finally 4 hours later she responds with how she doesn't feel emotionally supported and she needs some space to think about the future of our relationship. I was super confused and asked what was wrong. I got the response, I just had a really crappy day and you didn't even bother to call me. I kind of snapped at that a little. I asked why she didn't respond to any of my messages, or why didn't she say hey, I had a really bad day at work and need to hear your voice or something like that. I pointed out that she never asks me for emotional support, she just acts out until I figure out what she needs or until she gets frustrated and gives me the silent treatment. I didn't respond because it wouldn't have mattered. I cannot always be the one putting in the work. I explained for what felt like the 1000th time that I can't read her mind. She needs to communicate her needs. She's intentionally avoiding work by refusing to open up and ask for help. I understand that's hard for her, but I can't make up for that on my end. I pointed out that I didn't realize she was having an awful day. I just thought she was dealing with regular work bullcrap. She never tried to clarify how she was feeling or what she needed. I've been saying I need more effort from you for months and nothing has changed. This is the exact argument I didn't want to have, and you pushed it. I responded that I desperately want to support her, but she isn't giving me anything to work with. I gave her the space she asked for and told her I love her. The next morning she asks if she can come over after work to talk. After I confirm, she goes back to giving me the silent treatment. I soon found myself blocked on Snapchat and Instagram. Weirdly enough, it was this that finally made it click for me about how bad I'd been treated. I was so starved for emotional and non-intimate physical intimacy. She doesn't even like holding hands, let alone cuddling, and was an anxious mess from constantly walking on eggshells. But I'm stubborn. I loved her. I really wanted things to work and was still wanting to talk things out. She's pulled a similar stunt before and we ended up staying together. She finally comes over. We start out going over our communication issues. Her big thing is that she feels that with a compatible partner everything should come naturally, including knowing when your partner needs something without asking. She can get overwhelmed and just shuts down. And asking for help is also very overwhelming for her, goes against her need to feel independent and self-sufficient, and feeds her fear of getting into a toxic codependent relationship like her parents. So she feels that this is an appropriate expectation to have. I explain that she's asking me to read her mind, that she's putting all of the emotional labor on me, and that isn't a realistic or fair expectation to have. She started to change the subject, which is a go-to of hers when she's uncomfortable with a conversation. We jumped around to various issues in our relationship. She randomly says that she doesn't feel like she really knows me. I ask her what she means by that, and she says that she never knows what I'm thinking or feeling and I'm too closed off, all false, and this definitely feels like projection on her part. It also hit on a deep insecurity that she didn't actually care enough about me to try to get to know me. She barely engaged in my interests and hobbies, rarely asked me questions about myself. If she did, they were usually negative questions. On the other hand, I made all the effort to know about the things she cared for. She then brought up that we've been dating for a year, but have no plans to move in together. Again, this hit on a major insecurity of mine. I had been trying to bring this up for months. I straight up asked her when she was having issues at her place and she was thinking about moving. This was late July around our 1-year anniversary. On the other hand, she gave me different answers every time I asked her what she wanted for her or our future, if she didn't try to change the subject instead. She's never brought up our future on her own. I always was the one to bring it up. I made it clear that the only reason we don't have future plans is because she doesn't seem to want to make them yet. I also said there is nothing wrong with that, but she needs to let me know if she's not ready for that step. Pointing all of this out to her made her go quiet. Not silent treatment quiet, but when things get too intense for her she just starts to shut down and withdraw. It took a few minutes for her to come out of it. As she did, I explained that I felt that I was the only one really putting effort into our relationship. She asked me what I seriously wanted. I began in a kind of roundabout way, I guess. I explained that 6 years ago, I had to end an engagement to my fiancée after she became an abusive alcoholic, then spent the next few years working 80+ hours a week at a job I hated while watching my dad slowly die. All things she already knows. What I was going to say next is that after going through that, I wanted to get a job that was better for my mental health, succeeded, and I wanted to find my person. Instead, I got cut off. She said that maybe I started dating too soon after my dad's passing. We started dating about 9 months later. This really threw me off. Took me a minute to recover. Before I could continue, she said that she just doesn't feel our communication styles are compatible. I asked her if she seriously thinks she has good communication skills, which she said she feels like she does. I finally brought up the show. I said that I know that she went without me and I explained how I know, and my justification for looking up her location. This visibly shocked her, and she shut down again. I asked why she lied to me, twice? No answer. I asked if she was cheating on me? No, she went with her college friends. She eventually confirmed that this was planned before I even asked to go. As I suspected, she just said that she didn't want to go to avoid what she felt was an uncomfortable conversation. I asked her if she felt like this was okay? Yes, she was worried that if she told the truth I'd push her to let me go with them. I asked if I've ever tried to pressure her into doing something that she didn't want to do? Yes, I asked to watch movies that she doesn't like over and over. Again, a sore spot. I rarely got to pick what we watched, and she seems to intentionally avoid movies that are important to me. Over Christmas I asked to watch Home Alone to continue a tradition I had with my dad. I wanted her to be there with me for support, but she refused and found every way to invalidate my feelings. Have I ever pressured her outside of asking to watch a few of my favorite movies? No. I asked if I had done anything to make her feel unsafe opening up to me about any of this? No. She's just not the type to open up like that to anyone but her sister. How does she expect to have a serious relationship with someone if she won't open up to them? She feels like the right person will just make it easy for her. Does she feel like she needs to do any work on herself to be a better partner? No, because she doesn't really want to be a partner anymore. She said that our relationship was adding so much stress in her life, to the point that it was affecting her job and eating disorder recovery. I'm not sure how true this is. She's been doing really well with both. Where is the stress coming from in our relationship for her? The constant obligations and me constantly asking for more from her. I brought up how much work I've put into this relationship. I chauffeured her around for 2 months while her car was in the shop, visited her in the hospital every day and then slept on her couch and took care of her for a week while she recovered from surgery. I've paid for the vast majority of dates, given her money when she overdrew her bank account, helped her move on short notice, and how I've always showed up for her when she's asked, and plenty of times when she didn't. I've also tried to model good relationship behavior, and how exhausting and heartbreaking it is to not have that effort reciprocated or even recognized apparently. Instead, I rarely got to plan dates or pick what movies or shows we watched due to her refusal to compromise. I put in all of this effort trying to open up to her, and to get her to open up to me. The few times I asked for her emotional support, even on small things like watching Home Alone with me, she refused. She didn't take any interest in my hobbies, even those that we had in common. We had next to no emotional intimacy, and I had to constantly forgive her for blowing up at me for little things, giving me the silent treatment, or lying to me, while I always admitted when I was wrong and showed her that I was putting in the work to grow with our relationship. I've been giving so much without getting anything in return, and I didn't feel like my expectations were unrealistic at all. I was asking for the bare minimum. My needs weren't being met. She again just said that she doesn't think our communication styles are compatible. I guess this is the hill she wanted to die on to end our relationship. I did let her know that I didn't want to end things and I was still willing to work on us. I offered to get us a relationship counselor, but she refused. She was exhausted and couldn't do this anymore. At this point I was exhausted too, and agreed to end things. She never cried or anything during the whole conversation. She just switched between being cold or looking uncomfortable. By the end I was kind of a mess, never raised my voice or got angry though. A week or so later, I wasn't doing great. Made the mistake of getting drunk alone at home, then made the horrible mistake of trying to text her. I asked if she'd thought about us and if she was willing to talk. I got hit with "don't contact me. It's not coming across to you, so I'm being explicit. I want nothing from you except to never hear from you or see you again. I'm blocking your number. Contact me again and I'll be getting a restraining order. Go get some help and leave me alone." So that was great. I haven't been doing great. Between how exhausted everything made me, and the fact that this relationship and breakup managed to hit most of my relationship insecurities, I've been kind of a mess. It's just been rough realizing how I hardly ever felt appreciated, valued, respected, or prioritized throughout our relationship, and how I never really felt like she saw me as a partner or us as a team. I realized that I made a lot of excuses for her, given her childhood trauma and this being her first attempt at a serious relationship. A lot of her points about her not knowing me or us not having plans for the future felt really gaslighty, and it's messed with my head a lot. That and the constant nitpicking kind of destroyed my self-esteem. I honestly felt better after breaking things off with my ex-fiancé than I do after this breakup. Oh well, guess I have a lot of work to do on myself. I'm sorry that this probably wasn't a satisfying ending.